One says loyalty. And one says love. If we're thinking about these words and in relation to like a book, what do you think they could be? Courage is one of them. But these words, like, what do they mean? What could they stand for?
I think loyalty can be like keep a promise or something.
Yeah. But I'm not asking like what the actual word means. Like, what could they be a representation of for like a story? Not what they actually mean. All right. Those are all good answers, but that's not what we're looking for today. All right, we're going to come back to that. So we're going to review the rules first again, because we all forget, and we got to make sure we know them. We have our Here's Creed. Y'all repeat after me. I will be super respectful.
I will be super respectful
To my classmates and teachers.
to my classmates and teachers.
I will stay in my seat.
I will stay in my seat.
I will raise my hand
I will raise my hand
and wait to be called on.
and wait to be called on.
I will work quietly with my team.
I will work quietly with my team.
I will answer to the best of my superhero ability.
I will answer to the best of my superhero ability.
When my number is called.
When my number is
All
called.
right, everybody understand? Thumbs up? Yeah? All right. So our agenda today, we will be learning about theme. So these little words you saw on the sticks, they could be themes of a story. Remember what theme is? Yeah, that's what that was supposed to be. Courage could be theme, family could be theme, love and loyalty. They could all be theme of a story. And then, so we're gonna go, our agenda today, we're gonna go over the standards, objectives, and then the I will statements, which I'll repeat after me. We'll review chapter 20, learn a little bit about theme, and then we're gonna read it. And then we're gonna do a theme chart. We're gonna practice with it, work ourselves, and then I'm gonna wrap up the lesson. So our standard, y'all don't need to know this. I just gotta kind of say what our whole lesson's about. Is determine a theme of a story, drama, or poem from details in a text, and then summarize the text. And the objectives, what we're gonna be doing today, the students will be able to determine the theme of the story. The students will be able to use supporting details from a novel. So this one, y'all are gonna repeat after me. I will be able to
I will be able to
determine the theme
determine the theme
of a story.
of the story.
I will be able to
I will be able to
make use of
make use of
supporting details from a novel.
supporting details from a
So
novel.
you kind of understand what we're doing today? Yeah, we're gonna be reading and then we're gonna be finding out what the theme is of the chapter, what it's all about. Okay, so who wants to tell me what happened in chapter 20? What we do yesterday? Oh, that's a hint. They did. Anybody want to tell me about the fight? Yeah. They did. And does anybody know why the police thought the swords were guns? Yes.
Because mortal people see differently than mortal people.
They do. More people do see differently. Anybody want to tell me why? What causes that?
The humans and immortals have like a mist over their eyes where they can only see things that they really want to see.
Yes, they put a mist over the human's eyes. That's great. Alright. And big thing that happened recently is the lightning bolt has been returned to Zeus and the herald has been returned as well. Alright, so anybody have any questions about what's happened so far? Yeah. Why do you have the lightning bolt? Remember Ares gave him the backpack? Yeah, remember how, can you explain it to him?
They came from the Lotus Casino and they gave them, no, they did the love thing in the here and there. And they came back to the diner, they gave them also, so they had to.
Yeah, remember how it said, or did you have another question? Okay, 1 second. So remember how the sword comes back to Percy every time? Yeah, the lightning bolt is like that with the backpack.
Or
He has it to return. To return. Means he's going to
Oh,
return.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to scroll stuff for you. I think I read it wrong too, I'm sorry about that. Y'all ready to read? Okay, so open to chapter 21, page 334. You already on it? Okay, you're prepared. All right. I Settled My Tab is the title of the chapter. It's funny how humans can wrap their mind around things and fit them into their version of reality. Jerron had told me that long ago. As usual, I didn't appreciate his wisdom until much later. According to the LA News, the explosion at the Santa Monica Beach had been caused when a crazy kidnapper fired a shotgun at a police car. He accidentally hit a gas main and that had ruptured during the earthquake. This crazy kidnapper, aka Aries, was the same man who abducted me and two other adolescents in New York and brought us across country on a 10-day odyssey of terror. Poor little Percy Jackson wasn't an international criminal after all. He'd caused a commotion on that Greyhound bus in New Jersey, trying to get away from his captor. And afterward, witnesses would even swear they had seen the leather-clad man on the bus. Why didn't I remember him before? The crazy man had caused the explosion in the St. Louis Arch. After all, no kid could have done that. A concerned waitress in Denver had seen the man threatening his abductees outside her diner, gotten a friend to take a photo, and notified the police. Finally, brave Percy Jackson, I was beginning to like this kid, had stolen a gun from his captor in Los Angeles and battled him shotgun to rifle on the beach. Police had arrived just in time, but in the spectacular explosion, 5 police cars had been destroyed and the captor had fled. No fatalities had occurred. Percy Jackson and his 2 friends were safely in police custody. The reporters fed us this whole story. We just nodded and acted tearful and exhausted, which wasn't hard. And they played victimized kids for the cameras. All I want, I said, choking back my tears, is to see my loving stepfather again. Every time I saw him on TV calling me a delinquent punk, I knew somehow we would be okay. And I know he'll want to reward each and every person in this beautiful city of Los Angeles with a free major appliance from his store. Here's the phone number. The police and reporters were so moved that they passed around the hat and raised money for 3 tickets on the next plane to New York. All right, so what does Percy do? What did Percy do so far?
So he was on the news, and while he was on the news, the police, the news people say he was actually not the suspect. It was actually Aries because he was the one that caused the explosion, and then they were saying he wants to see his stepdad, and then they said for a beautiful ticket to Los Angeles, I think, and then for the store to
Right. What did he do to get even with Gabe, his stepdad? Did you know that answer? Never mind? Okay. He'll give them a reward. Does anybody know what the reward he said Gabe would give them? Money, no. No, okay.
a major major appliance to his store.
Major appliance, good job. So he said, Abe is giving away major appliances, just give him a call. They'll just give you one. Yeah, they'll just give you one. All right. Get back to your book. Did you have a question? That is a very good point. Percy's not supposed to fly on a plane, is he? No?
Just
Okay.
a big guy.
He did just defeat a god, so let's see what happens. Alright, I knew there was no choice but to fly. I hoped Zeus would cut me some slack considering the circumstances, but it was still hard to force myself on toward the flight. Takeoff was a nightmare. Every spot of turbulence was scarier than a Greek monster. I didn't unclench my hands from the armrest until we touched down safely at LA Guardia. The local press was waiting for us outside security, but we managed to evade them thanks to Annabeth, who lured them away in her invisible Yankees cap, shouting, "They're over here by the frozen yogurt, come on!" Then rejoined us at the baggage claim. We split up at the taxi stand. I told Annabeth and Grover to get back to Half Blood Hill and let Sharon know what had happened. They protested, and it was hard to let them go after all we've been through. But I knew I had to do this last part of my quest by myself. If things went wrong, if the gods didn't believe me, I wanted Annabeth and Grover to survive to tell Sharon the truth. I hopped in a taxi and headed into Manhattan. Everybody understand what's happened so far? So he got on the plane. Did he survive?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So how do the friends manage to not be noticed when they get to New York? Somebody has an answer.
Canada put on her Yankees cap, and so they were okay by the foot.
Okay, what does the Yankees captain?
Turn her around.
Right. Boy. Where did Grover and Annabeth go after New York? Anybody has an answer? Yeah. Camp Half-Blood. All right. And Percy's going. Or what's he going to do?
Manhattan.
Okay, he's going to finish his quest and try to return the lightning bolt. All right. Yeah, by himself. Any questions? Yeah, they're gonna have to tell Sharon the truth in case something happened, right? Anybody have any questions? Thumbs up if you know what's going on. Everybody following? Yeah? Thumbs up if you understand. Middle if you kind of do. Down if you don't at all. Yeah? Lots of thumbs up? All right. 30 minutes later, I walked into the lobby of the Empire State Building. I must have looked like a homeless kid with my tattered clothes and my scraped up face. I hadn't slept in at least 24 hours. I went up to the guard at the front desk and said, 600th floor. He was reading a huge book with a picture of a wizard on the front. I wasn't much into fantasy, but the book must have been good because the guard took a while to look up. No such floor, kiddo. I need an audience with Zeus. He gave me a vacant smile. Sorry? You heard me. I was about to decide this guy was just a regular mortal and I'd better run for it before he called the straitjacket patrol. When he said, no appointment, no audience, kiddo. Lord Zeus doesn't see anyone unannounced. Oh, I think he'll make an exception. I slipped off my backpack and unzipped the top. The guard looked inside of the metal cylinder, not getting what it was for a few seconds. Then his face went pale. This isn't. Yes, it is, I promised. You want me to take it out and... No. He scrambled out of his seat, fumbled around his desk for a key card, then handed it to me. Insert this in the security slot. Make sure nobody else is in the elevator with you. I did as he told me. As soon as the elevator doors closed, I slipped the key into the slot. The card disappeared and a new button appeared on the console, a red one that said 600. I pressed it and waited and waited. Alright, so how does Percy get past the guard at the Empire State Building? People that have already... Alright, good job. She said that he opened his book sack and then the guard gave him the key and he said, make sure nobody else is in the elevator. Alright. Muzak played. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Finally, ding! The door slid open. I stepped out and almost had a heart attack. I was standing on a narrow stone walkway in the middle of the air. Below me was Manhattan from the height of an airplane. In front of me, white marble steps wound up the spine of a cloud into the sky. My eyes followed the stairway to its end, where my brain just could not accept what I saw. Look again, my brain said, or looking, my eyes insisted. It's really there. From the top of the clouds rose the decapitated peak of a mountain, its summit covered with snow. Clinging to the mountainside were dozens of multi-level palaces, a city of mansions, all with white columned porticos, gilded terraces, and bronze braziers glowing with 1,000 fires. Roads wound crazily up the peak, where the largest palace gleamed against the snow. Precariously perched gardens bloomed with olive trees and rose bushes. I could make out an open-air market filled with colorful tents, a stone amphitheater built on one side of the mountain, a hippodrome, and a coliseum on the other. It was an ancient Greek city, except it wasn't in ruins. It was new and clean and colorful, and the way Athens must have looked 2,500 years ago. So by this point, all of the Greek cities should have been just torn apart, just been in ruins, but this one was like perfect. Alright, this place can't be here, I told myself. The tip of a mountain hanging over New York City like a billion-ton asteroid? How could something like that be anchored above the Empire State Building in plain sight of millions of people and not get noticed? But here it was, and here I was. My trip through Olympus was a daze. I passed some giggling wood nymphs who threw olives at me from their garden. Hawkers in the Martin offered to sell me ambrosia on a stick and a new shield and a genuine glitter weave replica of the Golden Fleece, as seen on Hephaestus TV. The 9 muses were tuning their instruments for a concert in the park while a small crowd gathered. Satyrs and naiads and a bunch of good-looking teenagers who might have been minor gods and goddesses. Nobody seemed worried about impending civil war. In fact, everybody seemed in a festive mood. Several of them turned to watch the pass and whispered to themselves. I climbed the main road toward the big palace at the peak. It was a reverse copy of the palace in the underworld. There, everyone had been black and bronze. Here, everything glittered white and silver. I realized Hades must have built his palace to resemble this one. He wasn't welcomed in Olympus except on the winter solstice, so he built his own Olympus underground. Despite my bad experience with him, I felt a little sorry for the guy. To be banished from this place seemed really unfair. It would make anyone bitter. Steps led up to a central courtyard. Past that, the throne room. Room really isn't the right word. The place made Grand Central Station look like a broom closet. Massive columns rose to a dome ceiling, which was gilded with moving constellations. 12 thrones, built for beings the size of Hades, were arranged in an inverted view, just like the cabins of Can't Have lived. An enormous fire crackled in the central earth pit. The thrones were empty except for 2 at the end, the head throne on the right and the one to its immediate left. I didn't have to be told who the 2 gods were that were sitting there, waiting for me to approach. I came toward them, my legs trembling. Anybody have a guess who those 2 gods are? Yeah? Couple of y'all? Zeus and Hera, maybe? Anybody have another guess? Zeus and Poseidon? Okay. Anybody have one more guess? Yeah? Who do you think? Okay. Alright, let's find out. The gods were in giant human form, as Hades had been, but I could barely look at them without feeling a tingle, as if my body were starting to burn. Zeus, the lord of the gods, wore a dark blue pinstripe suit. He sat on a simple throne of solid platinum. He had a well-trimmed beard, marbled gray and black like a storm cloud. His face was proud and handsome and grim, his eyes rainy gray. As I got nearer to him, the air crackled and smelled of ozone. The guy sitting next to him was his brother, without a doubt, but he was dressed very differently. He reminded me of a beachcomber from Key West. He wore leather sandals, khaki Bermuda shorts, and a Tommy Bahama shirt with coconuts and parrots all over it. His skin was deeply tan, his hands scarred like an old-time fisherman's. His hair was black like mine. His face had that same brooding look that had always gotten me branded a rebel. But his eyes, sea green like mine, were surrounded by sun crinkles that told me he smiled a lot too. His throne was a deep-sea fisherman's chair. It was the simple, swiveling kind with a black leather seat and a built-in holster for a fishing pole. But instead of the pole, the holster held a bronze trident flickering with green light around the tips. The guys weren't moving or speaking, but there was tension in the air as if they just finished an argument. I approached the fisherman's throne and knelt at his feet. Father. I dared not look up. My heart was racing. I could feel the energy emanating from the two gods. If I said the wrong thing, I had no doubt they would just blast me into dust. To my left, Zeus spoke. Could you not address the master of this house first, boy? I kept my head down and waited. Peace, brother, Poseidon finally said. His voice stirred my oldest memories. That warm glow I remembered as a baby, the sensation of this god's hand on my forehead. The boy defers to his father. This is only right. Do you still claim him then? Zeus asked menacingly. You claim this child who you sired against our sacred oath? I have admitted my wrongdoing, Poseidon said. Now I would hear him speak. Wrongdoing. A lump welled up in my throat. Was that all I was? A wrongdoing? The result of a god's mistake? I have spared him once already, Zeus grumbled, daring to fly through my domain. I could have blasted him right out of the sky for his impudence. And risk destroying your own master bolt? Poseidon asked kindly. Let's hear him out, brother. So how does Percy recognize his father on Mount Olympus? I'm going to call a number for this one. Number one. Number one here?
Yeah, I
Right. How does Percy recognize his father on Mount Olympus? How does he know it's his father?
because
If you don't know, you can ask a friend at your table.
I don't know.
Okay. Anybody at her table want to help her out? No? Okay. You try one more number and then if not, I'll call. Number 20. Who's number 20? You are? Okay. Do you know how Percy recognized that it was his father? Anybody want to help him out? Call a friend? Yeah, him? All right. What you got? All right. Good job going back to your text. You did. You felt a warm glow that he remembered he felt when he was a baby. Anybody else got one more point? Yeah? All right. Good job. She said that he knew from his throne. He was in a fisherman's chair, instead of a fishing pole, he had tried it, it was glowing green, all that good stuff.
He knew it was his father because his father had green eyes like him and
Nice, okay.
black hair too.
And black hair, so he looked like him. All right, anybody have any questions? Anybody understand where we're at? Thumbs up? Yeah? All right. And Zeus grumbled some more. I shall look. Bronze is like, you know what silver is? How it's like actually silver?
It's like a-
bronze. Yeah, bronze is another type of metal. It has kind of like a coppery, goldy look to it.
Yeah, it's a different.
Yeah, kind of like a rusty color.
It's like a brown color.
Yeah, it has a brown color to it, but it's another metal. And risk destroying your own master bolt? Poseidon asked calmly. Let's hear him out, brother. Zeus grumbled some more. I shall listen, he decided. Then I shall make up my mind whether or not to cast this boy down from Olympus. Perseus, Poseidon said, look at me. I did, and I wasn't sure what I saw in his face. There was no clear sign of love or approval. Nothing to encourage me. It was like looking at the ocean. Some days you could tell what mood it was in. Most days, though, it was unreadable and mysterious. I got the feeling Poseidon really didn't know what to think of me. He didn't know whether he was happy to have me as a son or not. In a strange way, I was glad that Poseidon was so distant. If he tried to apologize or told me he loved me or even smiled, it would have felt fake. Like a human dad, making some lame excuse for not being around. I could live with that. After all, I wasn't sure about him yet either. Address Lord Zeus, boy, Poseidon told me. Tell him your story. So I told Zeus everything, just as it had happened. I took out the metal cylinder, which began sparking in the sky god's presence, and I laid it at his feet. There was a long silence, broken only by the cackle of the hearth fire. Zeus opened his palm. The lightning bolt flew into it. As he closed his fist, the metal points flared with electricity until he was holding what looked more like a classic thunderbolt. A 20-foot javelin of sparking, hissing energy that made the hairs on my scalp rise. I sense the boy tells the truth, Zeus muttered, but that Ares would do such a thing? It is most unlike him. He is proud and impulsive, Poseidon said. It runs in the family. Lord? I asked. They both said yes. Ares didn't act alone. Something else came up with the idea. I described my dreams and the feeling I had on the beach, the momentary breath of evil that had seemed to stop the world and make Ares back off from killing me. In the dreams, I said, the voice told me to bring the bolt to the underworld. Ares hinted that he'd been having dreams too. I think he was being used just as I was to start a war. You are accusing Hades, after all, Zeus asked? No, I said. I mean, Lord Zeus, after the presence of Hades, this feeling on the beach was different. It was the same thing I felt when I got close to that pit. That was the interest of Tartarus, wasn't it? Something powerful and evil is stirring down there. Something even older than the gods. Poseidon and Zeus looked at each other. They had a quick, intense discussion in ancient Greek. I only caught one word, father. Poseidon made some kind of suggestion, but Zeus cut him off. Poseidon tried to argue. Zeus held up his hand angrily. We will speak of this no more. Zeus said, I must go personally to purify this thunderbolt in the waters of Lemnos to remove the human taint from its metal. He rose and looked at me. His expression softened just a fraction of a degree. You have done me a service, boy. Few heroes could have accomplished so much. I had help, sir, I said. Go over Underwood and Annabeth Chase. To show you my thanks, I shall spare your life. I do not trust you, Perseus Jackson. I did not like what your arrival means for the future of Olympus. But for the sake of peace in the family, I shall let you live. Thank you, sir. Do not presume to fly again. Do not let me find you when I return. Otherwise you shall taste this bolt, and it shall be your last sensation. Thunder shook the palace. With a blinding flash of lightning, Zeus was gone. Sure.
What does he mean by saying, you shall taste his bolt?
He said basically that he's gonna hurt him with bolt, and he's gonna, you know how like you kind of taste lightning. You ever like you've been outside the lightning storm, you like get that metal taste that lightning takes? No, you don't know what I'm talking about. No.
Yeah, he's just making a,
Yeah, it's a metaphor. Yeah, he's just gonna strike him with the lightning bolt, and it's gonna hurt him so bad he's gonna taste it, basically. Yeah.
Go taste the bolt.
Yeah. Thunder shook the palace. With a blinding flash of lightning, Zeus was gone. I was alone in the throne room with my father. Your uncle, Poseidon sighed, has always had a flair for dramatic exits. I think he would have done well as the god of theater. In an uncomfortable silence, sir, I said, what was in that pit? Poseidon regarded me. Have you not guessed? Cronos, I said, the king of the Titans. Even in the throne room of Olympus, far away from Tartarus, the name Cronos darkened the room, made the hearth fire seem not quite so warm on my back. Poseidon gripped his trident. In the first war, Zeus cut our father Cronos into 1,000 pieces, just as Cronos had done with his own father, Uranus. Zeus cast Cronos' remains in the darkest pit of Tartarus. the Titan army was scattered, their mountain fortress on Etna destroyed, their monstrous allies driven to the farthest corners of the earth. And yet Titans cannot die any more than we guys can. Whatever is left of Cronus is still alive in some hideous way, still conscious in his eternal pain, still hungry for power. He's healing, I said, he's coming back. Poseidon shook his head. From time to time, over the eons, Cronus has stirred. He enters men's nightmares and breathes evil thoughts. He wakens restless monsters from the depths, but to suggest that he could rise from the pit is another thing. That's what he intends, Father. That's what he said. Poseidon was silent for a long time. Lord Zeus has closed discussion on this matter. He will not allow talk of Kronos. You have completed your quest, child. That is all you need to do. But I stopped myself. Arguing would do no good. It would very possibly anger the only God who I had on my side. As you wish, Father. A faint smile played on his lips. Obedience does not come naturally to you, does it? No, sir. I must take some blame for that, I suppose. The sea does not like to be restrained. He rose to the full height and took up his trident. Then he shimmered and became the size of a regular man, standing directly in front of me. You must go, child. But first, know that your mother has returned. I say to him, completely stunned, my mother? You will find her at home. Hades sent her when you recovered his helm. Even the Lord of Death pays his debts. My heart was pounding. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to ask Poseidon if Poseidon would come with me to see her, but then I realized that was ridiculous. I imagined loading the god of sea into a taxi and taking him to the Upper East Side. If he'd wanted to see my mom all these years, he would have. And there were smelly games to think about. So, what surprising fact does Zeus reveal to Percy? What's the surprise there? What is the surprising fact that Zeus reveals to Percy? What does he tell him that surprises him?
Oh, his mother died.
Yes, his mother has returned.
You said Zeus. Yeah, you said Zeus.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. You don't know what I mean.
Yeah.
Poseidon, not Zeus. Alright. Anybody have any questions about that? No? Percy returned the helm, so Hades, even though he's the god of death, he still paid up his favor and returned his mother. How'd he turn back into a human? Who? Poseidon? Because he's a god. He can
change his size.
do whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
He can change from a god to a human, kind of blend in if he needs to, or
Why would Poseidon go and see Percy's mother
they weren't married. Because he was a god. He wasn't supposed to even have been with his mother. It was a secret. Remember, he made an oath to not be with any mortals. So he kind of had to keep it a secret. He couldn't make his presence known in the mortal world or everybody would have found out. What happened when Zeus found out? He would be very mad. And he probably would have started a fight with Poseidon.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago instead of now. Any other questions? No? Alright, page 346. Poseidon's eyes took on a little sadness. When you return home, Percy, you must make an important choice. You will find a package waiting in your room. A package? You will understand when you see it. No one can choose your path, Percy. You must decide. I nodded, though I didn't know what he meant. Your mother is a queen among women. Poseidon said wistfully, I had not met such a mortal woman in 1,000 years. Still, I'm sorry you were born child. I have brought you a hero's fate, and a hero's fate is never happy. It is never anything but tragic. I tried not to feel hurt. Here's my own dad telling me he was sorry I had been born. I don't mind, Father. Not yet, perhaps, he said, not yet. But it was an unforgivable mistake on my part. I'll leave you then, I bowed awkwardly. I won't bother you again. I was 5 steps away when he said, Perseus. I turned. There was a different light in his eyes, a fiery kind of pride. You did well, Perseus. Do not misunderstand me. Whatever else you do, know that you are mine. You are a true son of the sea god. As I walked back to the city of God's, conversations stopped. The muses paused their concert. People in satyrs and naiads all turned toward me, their faces filled with respect and gratitude. And I passed. They knelt as if I were some kind of hero. So, how does Percy know his father approves of him? Anybody feel like his father approves of him now, right? You got a little bit of that? Yeah? I'll call. See something. Number 13. Number 13. You know? How does he know that his father approves of him?
Because his father just said, you did well, Perseus. Do not misunderstand me. Whatever else you do, know that you are mine and you are the true son of Perseus.
Let's not go back to the text. Why do you say he was sorry he wished he was never born? That's because, remember, he's not supposed to have a confession to have a son. Because they weren't supposed to have a son with a mortal. So he says that his fate is not going to be good. All heroes, since Percy's a hero, he's a half-blood, all that, his fate's not going to be good, is what he's saying. Y'all ready to move on?
What does he mean by
Fate, like what's going to happen to him. Like, no matter what, something's going to happen. You can change it if he's a god, alright.
So he's still a hero, but he's still gonna have a tragic life.
That's what he's thinking, that's what Poseidon's thinking. Yeah, he's still a hero, but he thinks he's still gonna have a tragic life or a tragic fate. Alright. 15 minutes later, still in a trance, I was back on the streets of Manhattan. I called a taxi to my mom's apartment, rang the doorbell, and there she was. My beautiful mother, smelling of peppermint and licorice. The weariness and worry evaporated from her face as soon as she saw me. Percy! Oh my goodness! Oh my baby! She crushed the air right out of me. We stood in the hallway as she cried and ran her hands through my hair. I'll admit it, my eyes were a little misty too. I was shaking. I was so relieved to see her. She told me she disappeared at the apartment that morning, scaring Gabe half out of his wits. She didn't remember anything since the Minotaur and couldn't believe it when Gabe told her I was a wanted criminal, traveling across the country, blowing up national monuments. She'd been going out of her mind with worry all day because she hadn't heard the news. Gabe had forced her to go into work, saying she had a month's salary to make up and she'd better get started. I swallowed back my anger and I told her my story. I tried to make it sound less scary than it had been, but that wasn't easy. I was just getting to the fight with Ares when Gabe's voice interrupted from the living room. Hey, Sally, is that meatloaf done yet or what? She closed her eyes. He isn't going to be happy to see you, Percy. The story of 500,000 phone calls today from Los Angeles said something about free appliances. Oh yeah, about that. She managed a weak smile. Just don't make it angrier, all right? Come on. In the month I'd been gone, the apartment had turned into gay land. Garbage was ankle deep on the carpet. The sofa had been reupholstered in beer cans. Dirty socks and underwear hung off the lampshade. Yeah, gross. Gabe and 3 of his big gooey friends were playing poker at the table. When Gabe saw me, his cigar dropped out of his mouth. His face got redder than lava. You got nerve coming here, you little punk. I thought the police. He's not a fugitive after all, my mom interjected. Isn't that wonderful, Gabe? Gabe looked back and forth between us. He didn't seem to think my homecoming was so wonderful. Bad enough, I had to give back your life insurance money, Sally, and growled, give me the phone, I'll call the cops. Hey, no! He raised his eyebrows. Did you just say no? You think I'm gonna put up with this punk again? I could still press charges against him for ruining my career. But he raised his hand and my mother flinched. For the first time, I realized something. Gabe could hit my mother. I don't know when or how much, but I was sure he'd done it. Maybe it had been going on for years when I wasn't around. A balloon of anger started expanding in my chest. I came toward Gabe, instinctively taking my pen out of my pocket. He just laughed. What, punk? You gonna write on me? Touch me and you're going to jail forever, you understand? Hey, Gabe, his friend Eddie interrupted. He's just a kid. Gabe looked at him resentfully and mimicked in a falsetto voice. Just a kid? His other friends laughed like idiots. I'll be nice to you, punk. Gabe showed me his tobacco-stained teeth. I'll give you 5 minutes to get your stuff and clear out. After that, I'll call the police. Gabe, my mother pleaded. He ran away. Gabe Gabe told her, let him stay gone. I was itching to uncap Riptide, but even if I did, the blade wouldn't hurt humans. And Gabe, by the loosest definition, was a human. My mother took my arm. Please, Percy, come on, we'll go to your room. I let her pull me away, my hands still trembling with rage. My room had been completely filled with Gabe's junk. There were stacks of used car batteries, a rotting bouquet of sympathy flowers with a card from somebody who'd seen his Barbara Walters interview. Gabe is just upset, honey, my mother told me. I'll talk to him later. I'm sure it'll work out. No, it won't? Alright. Mom, it'll never work out, not as long as Gabe's here. She wrung her hands nervously. I'll take you to work with me for the rest of the summer. In the fall, maybe there's another boarding school. Mom, she lowered her eyes. I'm trying, Percy. I need some time. A package appeared on my bed. At least I could have sworn it hadn't been there a moment before. There was a battered cardboard box about the right size to fit a basketball. The address on the mailing slip was in my own handwriting. The guys, Mount Olympus, 600th floor, Empire State Building, New York, New York. With best wishes, Percy Jackson. Anybody think they know what's in that box? Oh, lots of light bulbs. All right. Medusa's head? Everybody agree with that? Or are we gonna have another opinion? Yeah. Oh man, what's he gonna do with it? All right. He's gonna hang it up like a trophy. All right, y'all. Okay. Bottom of page 350. Over the top in black marker and a man's clear, bold print was the address of our apartment and the words, return to sender. Suddenly I understand what Poseidon had told me on Olympus. A package, a decision. Whatever else you do, know that you are mine. You are a true son of the sea god. I looked at my mother. Mom, do you want Gabe gone? Percy, isn't that simple? Mom, just tell me that Dirk has been hitting you. Do you want him gone or not? She hesitated, then nodded almost imperceptibly. Yes, Percy, I do. And I'm trying to get up my courage to tell him. But you can't do this for me. You can't solve my problems. I looked at the box. I could solve her problem. I wanted to slice that package open, plop it on the poker table, and check out what was inside. I could start my very own statue garden right there in the living room. That's what a Greek hero would do in the stories, I thought. That's what Gabe deserves. But a hero story always ends in tragedy. Poseidon had told me that. Hey, I remembered the underworld. I thought about Gabe's spirit drifting forever in the fields of Asphodel, or condemned to some hideous torture behind the barbed wire of the fields of punishment. An eternal poker game, sitting up his waist in boiling oil, listening to opera music. Did I have the right to send someone there, even Gabe? A month ago, I wouldn't have hesitated. Now, I can do it, I told my mom. One look inside this box and he'll never bother you again. She glanced at the package and seemed to understand immediately. No, Percy, she said, stepping away. You can't. What? Poseidon called you a queen, I told her. He said he hadn't met a woman like you in 1,000 years. Her cheeks flushed. Percy, you deserve better than this, Mom. You should go to a college, get your degree. You can write your own novel, meet a nice guy, maybe, live in a nice house. You don't need to protect me anymore by staying with Gabe. Let me get rid of him. She wiped a tear off her cheek. You sound so much like your father, she said. He offered to stop the tide for me once. He offered to build me a palace at the bottom of the sea. He thought he could solve all my problems with a wave of his hand. What's wrong with that? Her multicolored eyes seemed to search inside me. I think you know, Percy. I think you're enough like me to understand. If my life is going to mean anything, I have to live it myself. I can't let a guy take care of me, or my son. I have to find the courage on my own. The quest has reminded me of that. We listened to the sound of poker chips and swearing. ESPN from the living room television. I'll leave the box, he said. If he threatened you, she looked pale, but she nodded. Where will you go, Percy? Half-Blood Hill. For the summer? Or forever? I guess that depends. We locked eyes, and I said so he had an agreement. We would see how things stood at the end of the summer. She kissed my forehead. You'll be a hero, Percy. You'll be the greatest of all. I took one last look around my bedroom. I had a feeling I'd never see it again. Then I walked with my mother to the front door. Leaving so soon, Pop? Gabe called after me. Good riddance. Though I had one last twinge of doubt. How could I turn down the perfect chance to take revenge on him? I was leaving here without saving my mother. Hey, Sally, he yelled. What about that meatloaf, huh? a silly look of anger flared in my mother's eyes, and I thought just maybe I was leaving her in good hands after all, her own. The meatloaf is coming right up, dear, she told Gabe. Meatloaf, surprise. She looked at me and winked. The last thing I saw as the door swung closed with my mother staring at Gabe as if she were contemplating how he would look as a garden statue. Alright. Okay, so number 15. Who's number 15? Alright. What is Percy going to help his mom? Okay.
He opens the box and then he hangs it in the book room.
No, he didn't do that. What does he do? He does. He goes to Half-Blood Hill.
He gives his mom a choice.
He does. He gives his mom the choice. He gives her the box and says, it's your choice. If you want to use this, you can. Alright. Anybody have any questions about the chapter? Yes. Do you think she's going to do it in the next chapter? Because he's so mean.
Or he's gonna come home and be like,
Understood.
and then come and then go, look at this, and then come back and then hang up.
Now that's what's going to happen? Alright. Yes.
Smelly gay.
Smelly gay.
All the things Percy when he was a child. And all because of the Camaro and the car.
He doesn't actually call on or he threatens to call cops to come get him, but he didn't actually call. Yeah. The mom does know about the other gods. Remember, the dad of her is Poseidon. She knows. Because if you look at the page 352, it says he offered to stop the tide for me once. He offered to build me a palace at the bottom of the sea. So she knows that he's a god and that he could do all that. Do I think Poseidon's gonna go back to Percy's mom? I don't know. Because they're really not supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, but I think they are, because they so go.
Alright, y'all. That's enough of that. Alright, y'all. Let's get back to theme. The definition of theme is an underlying message or the big idea of a story. You know what theme is? Remember y'all done theme before? Yeah? How we feel about it? Thumbs up, middle, down? I got lots of thumbs up. Some in the middle? Alright, hopefully we'll feel better after that. Some examples of theme are loyalty, courage, teamwork. And stories can have more than one theme. So the whole story is not just going to have one theme. It's going to have a bunch of themes. Alright. So we're going to be using this chart and our centers. I'm just going to go over the chart so you kind of familiar with it. It's called a theme chart. The first box, you're going to summarize the plot. You all have it on the table. You'll be able to look at it. You're going to summarize the plot. So you're going to summarize in like 1 or 2 sentences what happened. So like the part you're talking about in the chapter that you want to use for the theme, summarize that. And then you're going to say what was learned. So what was learned in that piece of the text? Oh, we're not. You're going to do it in your center in a second. Hold in your breath. Okay? How does the plot show what was learned? So the next one, you're going to say, you're going to directly kind of correlate how, what happens in the book, the plot shows what was learned in the book. And then you're going to determine the theme. So you're going to pick a theme and assign it to that. So you're going to say, this is the theme for that. Alright? Alright. So we're going to get partners again today. I have a timer. We're going to have... Okay. Messed all of my timers up. Definitely work out. Yeah, it is the same as yesterday if you remember it. Everybody want to look over it again if you don't remember? Y'all know your partner? Alright, quietly, we got one everybody partner. Bring your try to bring your book and a pencil. church. Remember that one? You don't have to repeat. I will stay in my seat. Yeah. I will raise my hand and wait to be called on. Alright. I will work quietly with my team.
I will work quietly with my team.
And I will answer to the best of my superhero ability when my number is called.
And I will answer to
Y'all feel confident you can do all of those? Yeah, say yeah. Yeah. Okay. Alright, y'all, I'm gonna set a timer. You have 12 minutes. I want you to work with just your partner you were assigned with, okay? Just the partner, not your whole group. And you're gonna use the book, use the chapter we just read, chapter 21, only that chapter if you can. Find something in there that you kind of think has a theme to it. So something in the chapter doesn't have to be very long. And you're gonna fill out the theme chart. Anybody have any questions? No, so just go only fill out the first one where it says Percy Jackson. Don't worry about the second one yet. Okay, so you're gonna have 12 minutes, try to work quietly. I'm gonna come out. Is like what happens in the book. So the points, like how it goes in order, what happens. Yeah, okay. Alright. Remember, work with just your partner, not your whole group yet, okay? A plot? Okay. Alright, listen up everybody. I have a lot of questions asking me what a plot is, so we're gonna review that. A plot is gonna be, alright. A plot is gonna be like what happened. So kind of like, if you think about it in like steps, like this happened, and this happened, and this happened, that's gonna be a plot. Yeah, you can kind of compare it to a line plot.
Wait a minute. It's not right. asking about like the whole story, like the big plot.
I think it might be a little easier. You can do that if you want. If you just focus, you have to just focus on one part. Like pick something that happened, just one thing that happened. Yeah, you don't have to do the whole book, just one thing that happened. And then you kind of go into what was learned about that happened.
Okay, I'm putting hay.
These events happen in disorder. Just like two things happen. So just take something that happened and just talk about what happened. There you go, that's one. Go into the final one. Okay. If that works for you, that works for you. Finish first, good job. I like that. If you finish early, you can draw on the back, but you gotta finish first. Quietly though. No, don't do that one yet. Only do the first block. So, like, What did you learn from that? And then kind of this part, what did you learn? So like, this is why I said it. This is why I said this is what I learned. And then you're just gonna say, one being like overall, this is all. What are you trying to show me? That is good. What are you drawing? Okay. Alright, we got 4 minutes. So I'm gonna figure this out right now, so that we'll be ready, okay? Alright, I see y'all working awesomely over here. What's going on? You're gonna have those there. Okay, we'll just learn some game on and I said that. Okay.
I put that haze is trying to sit out in this one as well, and self war, but I'm trying to. So haze is also trying to self war, it's not equal.
What did you learn about that?
That really,
He's not all evil. So that's what they'll say.
I already have it labeled
So
out.
what I get from that, that he's not evil. So you're gonna, after all, you how you learned it, like where it goes from story. You say, like, one overall lesson. Exactly. So what did you learn?
Besides, I'm sorry.
Yes, Christmas 23rd. So we're gonna just observe the 16th and the 18th. So it is the 25th. So I was wondering why we were being booked up. Why we have observation Christmas. Because we're supposed to finish up, I think Wednesday's the 1st of April is our last day.
That is awesome right there. That is right back. We got 2 minutes. Y'all start wrapping it up.
Yes. If anything, they are partnering up with Thank you. That's what we're doing. We're gonna be
All right. Hands up if we need about another minute.
My slime.
Y'all need, yeah? All right, we got about another minute.
John for this guy's. Drawing contest. I'm not good at
Thumbs up. All right, so now we're gonna take about a minute, just a minute, okay? Quickly, you work with your partner, so we're gonna quickly tell the rest of our table, kind of discuss and come up with what you got. So y'all, kind of load out, y'all.
Oh,
two groups, and somebody in the group's gonna share. Who wants to share? Anybody want to share? They can. No? No? Okay. You're,
How we put somebody like up, first he goes to God, and the people, which is Zeus, and returns the lightning bolt. What we learned is Percy had trusted his father, and his father trusted him.
Father trusted him, okay.
That he always needed to trust a God because they have lots of power.
Right.
And return the theme is family, love, and hope.
I like that. She said the overall theme for Poseidon and his son Percy is, you said, family, love, and hope. So she got kind of three themes, but they all cover the story that we've been talking about.
Concerning, he said concerning his mother was a queen. He said the sky was where she was born. And apparently because his mother was good, if she from his mother, so probably said she was a queen. He said he loved her family, he loved his family.
Okay, so she said her plot she's talking about is Poseidon says the mom is the queen and she's awesome and all this, and she would have what? She would have parted the sea, like you said? Okay. And then she said the theme is family, love, and okay. So family and love is the theme they picked. So everybody's kind of saying family and love. I get that. Alright. I really like how you put that in direct quotes. You pulled a quote directly out of the book. That's awesome. Okay. Okay. So the theme is family. I get that. Alright. So everybody kind of agrees that one of the themes is family? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. The lightning bolt. Yeah. Okay. Okay, he got something different. He says, Percy went to return the lightning bolt. What was learned was Percy returned the lightning bolt and he got to see his mom. Okay. The story about Percy and his mom doesn't like Smelly Gabe. Okay, his mom doesn't like Smelly Gabe. I get that. And his theme, he said, is a little different. Y'all listen. He said, don't trust bad people. They always do something bad. So that's kind of a different line on than family, right? He's saying you don't always have to trust everybody. Some people are bad, right? All right, y'all, now we're gonna work on our own. So now I want you to flip over the smaller piece of paper in the middle of the table that I gave you. Everybody gets one. And you'll all notice that the theme chart also has a block at the bottom, right? So I'm gonna read aloud the story whenever y'all are ready. And then y'all are gonna work by yourselves quietly to find the theme of that story. Does it have one? Okay, well, just grab Margaret. We all are gonna have to use shapes. Alright, so whenever we're ready, I'm gonna read aloud the story. And then y'all are gonna work by yourselves to determine it and have a set timer for that. So we're gonna turn it in. And if you finish early before the timer goes off, I want you to just sit there, draw a picture of the favorite part of the story that we're about to read, okay? Alright, y'all ready? Okay. So the boy who cried wolf. A boy named John was once taking care of some sheep, not far from a forest. Nearby was a village, and he was told to call for help if there was any danger. One day, he thought he would have some fun, and he cried with all his might, "The wolf is coming! The wolf is coming!" The men came running with clubs and axes to save the boy from the wolf. As they saw nothing, they went home again and left John laughing in his sleep. The day before, he had so much fun. John cried out again the next day, "The wolf! The wolf!" The men came again. This time, not as many as the first time. Again, he saw no trace of the wolf, so they shook their heads and went back. On the third day, the wolf came in earnest. John cried in dismay, "Help! Help! The wolf! The wolf!" Not a single man came to help him. The wolf broke into the flock and attacked the sheep. Among there was a beautiful lamb that belonged to John. Then he felt very sorry that he had deceived his friends and neighbors and grieved over the loss of his pet lamb. The truth itself is not believed from one who was often deceived. Okay, so now you're going to work by yourself. You have your story and try to fill out the same charts. You're going to try to fill out, summarize what happened. You're going to say the lesson that was learned, what you learned from that, the overall lesson, and then you're going to say how the plot shows that, and then tell me what a theme is. All right, now work quietly. I don't know why my timers aren't working. Simply being quiet. All right, some very good points. 4 minutes. Try to keep finishing. Finishing up. Show of hands, how many people are still working? Finishing up with your last parts. Alright, timers off. Anybody else have their paper still? Raise it in the air. Anybody else?
first?
You can keep that if you like. Alright. Now I'm gonna pick three randomly. Y'all aren't gonna know whose they are. I'm not gonna know whose they are. I'm gonna look at names. Alright, so we got, summarize the plot. He kept saying the wolf is coming, the wolf is coming. Okay, good job. What was learned? Never say something like that unless it is true. So don't lie about it, right? How was the plot show that who was learned? What was learned? The plot shows to never say something unless you mean it. And determine the theme. The theme is he's really in trouble now because there's actually a wolf. Alright. Another one. Okay. A boy named John was tricking the men, and then when the wolf came, they didn't come. Okay. What was learned? Not to trick people. Yeah. That's great. How was the plot? Show what was learned. John was tricking the men. Yeah, he was. And determine the theme. No pranks. Okay. Alright. Okay, I got a direct quote. One day he thought he would have some fun and cried all his might, the wolf is coming, the wolf is coming. That's always great. If you ever want to, when you're summarizing the plot or giving evidence, if you directly quote it, it's awesome. You can see exactly where it came from. What was learned? Don't lie and lie or people will not believe you. Yes, that is right. How does the plot show what was learned? The evidence from the story shows what happened in the story. Yes, it does. And determine the theme. When the wolf really came, nobody believed him. So his theme is so don't lie. Everybody kind of agree? The theme of this story is don't lie. Yeah. Don't be untrue. You're right. You're right. He said, don't lie, because then you're just going to make a mess for yourself and you're going to have to clean it up for yourself. I do. It's beautiful. Alright. Anybody have any questions about the story we just read or the theme? No? Everybody's kind of agree. Don't lie. It's kind of the theme. Be honest. Be honest, y'all. Yep. Okay. Alright. So in this lesson, we learned how Percy completes his quest to return the lightning bolt, but he did not personally save his mother. And then we practiced determining a theme of the story. Okay. So possible lessons learned in this chapter or possible themes would be heroes may suffer in their missions to help each other. So heroes, basically, they might get hurt if when they're trying to help people. Friendships are more important than in life, or important in life. Learning who you are can be a painful experience, and loneliness can be painful. Alright, so we did these student work, and then everybody understands? Yeah? Alright. So, I'm gonna call on somebody, and y'all gonna tell me what theme is. 7. Who's 7? Alright, what is theme? What does it mean? What they did, okay. What the story is about, okay. Okay.
Like,
The lesson you learned. That's the key word right there. The lesson you learned. You got one? The words? All right. He connected it back to the words I had at the beginning of the lesson. Y'all remember those words? The loyalty, courage, love, all those. That's a great point. They are all themes. Okay, now. I'm gonna switch up. I'm gonna do the I can statements and then we'll finish with class. Repeat after me, because this is what we can do now, right? I can make use of. Supporting details. From a novel. I can determine. The theme of a story. Alright, then let's put our hands up. Do 5. You feel comfortable with that? 4 down. Yeah. Y'all wrap up dice. Mine looks a little different today. But we have to wrap up dice, and we're gonna kind of try to get whoever didn't get to go yesterday. Okay, so y'all start with people that didn't get to go. 2 people per table. So y'all just remember use the wrap up dice to kind of summarize what we learned today. How do you apply what you learned in your life? How will you do that?
It's not roll.
You think about it? Love it.
I have it.
Okay, so have it.
No, have you? Yeah, I'm rolling.
What do you got?
No.
Yeah, what's the same voice of the thing you learned?
No. Yeah, I didn't get it.
Use evidence from a Good job, alright? Thank you. Whoever didn't go yesterday. So, how does the new learning fit in with what you already know? So what you learned today, how does that fit in with what you already know?
But I didn't roll. Yeah, and then she said you didn't roll, you get to roll today.
Piece of paper that broke it up.
So that's there for her. And she didn't.
Good job. Go step by step.
No, that was not starting yesterday. No.
Like to learn about stuff.
Oh,
Lucy, Monday.
yeah.
First, you learned the person. What do you want to know? What do you want to Don't know too much. Yeah. All right. Let me say over here. More questions. You got to turn here. Y'all go get more.
She wrote both.
They are the same questions. I'm not lying. My dog ate the other Oh man, okay. So what questions did we land on over here? How did you apply it in your life? Okay. Okay. Y'all be quiet so I can hear what the groups are saying. Yeah. Okay. Right. What questions did we get over here? Okay. How does this new learning fit in with what you already know? What you learned today, how does it fit in with what you already knew? No, person's a hero, okay? So, kind of just like what you learned today, what a role was Where's the other guy? All right, thank y'all.
Wait,
Wait, no, it's me and Jack.